Hello, good greetings to all of you. Welcome once again to our mathematics revision class, grade 12. Today we are focusing on trigonometry, basically the basics of trigonometry with special attention to diagram type questions and basic calculations. Right, let's go on. I have a question here which says if cos A is equal to minus 3 over 4 and A is between 0 and 108 degrees, use a diagram to determine the value of sine A. This is a diagram type question which needs some basic calculations, and these are some of the questions in trigonometry that we think we can get full marks very much easily because they don't take much time and they are not complex at all. So what do you do? Remember, when you are doing maths, the most important part of your doing maths is you must learn the methods, you must learn the ideas behind the answer. The answer itself is not important. You must learn the ideas, and once you learn the idea and you master it and you practice, you will begin to realize that the method you learn in class may not be the only method available. There are other methods that you can apply in solving the same problem. And that is what maths is about, developing your thinking out of the box and being able to solve new problems. Now let's have a look. First, with such a question, what do I need to do to solve this type of a problem? Key information. That means what information is given here that is necessary for me to be able to solve this problem. The first one is you look at the sign of the trigonometric expression given. By sign we are saying is it a negative or a positive one? And in this case we can see that the sign of cos A is a negative 3 over 4. Therefore cos A is negative. Then the next thing that we need the range of the angle. Since we are not given the numerical value of the angle, we don't know how big the angle is. Is it 5 degrees? Is it 100 degrees? We don't know. So the question will give you a range from a certain number up to a certain number. In this case, the angle is between 0 and 108 degrees. These two pieces of information, the range and the sign of the trigonometric expression given, they show us the quadrant in which the diagram must be drawn. Cos A is negative, and we need the angle to be from 0 up to 180. 0 up to 180 covers quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. Cos is negative in quadrant 2 out of those two quadrants, and that means the diagram must be in quadrant 2. You draw a triangle in quadrant 2. After drawing the triangle, you label the triangle according to trigonometric ratios. The value that we are working with here is that of cos A. Cos A is equal to negative 3 over 4. And cos from our studies of trigonometric ratios is adjacent over hypotenuse. It means in this diagram, the adjacent is negative 3, the hypotenuse is 4. So we're going to label our diagram accordingly. The adjacent along the x-axis, negative 3, the hypotenuse is 4. The next thing, we calculate the value of the third side of the triangle using the theorem of Pythagoras. So applying the theorem of Pythagoras here will give us the value of the third side of the triangle, which is the square root of 7. Once we are done doing that, our answer is now complete. We can simply finish it off by substituting with numbers that are coming from the triangle. We need the value of sine A. The value of sine A is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. The opposite is root 7. The hypotenuse is equal to 4. Sine A is equal to root 7 divided by 4. That answers my question. So basically, to summarize it once again, each time you get a question like this where the angle is not given, you need two pieces of information. You need the range, you need the sign of the trigonometric expression. Those two will give you one quadrant in which the diagram must be drawn. Please don't draw your diagram at random. The diagram must be drawn according to the given specifications. Then you can answer your question using the diagram that you have drawn. That is a diagram type question. So let's have a look at another example. You may probably want to pause this video for a moment and answer the question on your own, and then check the answer later. If cos B is equal to P over root 5, where P is less than 0, and B is an element of 108 degrees up to 360, determine using a diagram an expression in terms of P, this value of sine 2B. Now, remember, we have mentioned in the previous example that you need two pieces of information. There are two conditions that guide your diagram. The sign of the trigonometric expression. In this case, we are told that P is less than 0. And if P is less than 0, it means P is negative. Therefore, cos B is negative. A negative cos B is found in quadrant 2 or quadrant 3. Those are the two quadrants where cos is negative. What else do you need? You need the range of the angle. The angle is from 180 degrees up to 360 degrees. That range covers two quadrants, quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. Out of the quadrants that have been given here, I must choose one quadrant that satisfies both conditions. The quadrant must be one in which cos is negative, and it must be between 180 and 360, and that is quadrant 3. In the third quadrant, you draw a triangle. After drawing your triangle, you label the triangle according to trigonometric ratios. We have cos B is equal to P over root 5. Cos means adjacent over hypotenuse. So in this diagram, the adjacent is P, the hypotenuse is root 5. Then we calculate the third side of the triangle using the theorem of Pythagoras. Now our diagram is complete. We want to find the value of sine 2a. Look at 2a in this expression and compare with the diagram that we have drawn. We have drawn the diagram using angle B. Cos B is equal to P over root 5. But the question is asking us to find the value of sine 2B. Now, in that case, you have to use double angle identities. We can't read the value of sine 2B from a diagram that has been drawn with angle B. We can only link them using double angle identities. Sine 2B is equal to 2 cos B sine B. Then cos B is P over root 5, and sine B is negative root 5 minus P squared over root 5. That is coming from our diagram. Then we simplify this expression, and that gives us the answer for that question. So we can quickly, in summary form, say that if you are answering a question where the angle is not given, you need to know the range, you need to know the sign. Those two are going to pinpoint one out of the four quadrants in which the diagram must be drawn. Label the diagram according to trigonometric ratios. Calculate the third side of the diagram using theorem of Pythagoras, and then answer the question by taking values that come from the triangle that we have just drawn. That is how to answer that one. Let's have maybe another example. Very interesting. I found this question in one of the papers, and it was very much interesting for me. Maybe you may have a look and answer it before you continue this video, and then check the answer later. Now, in the question, sine 2x is equal to root 15 over 8. And we can see that the sign of the expression there is positive, which means we need the quadrants in which sign is positive. That is quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. Something interesting about the range given. The question is saying x is equal to 45 degrees to 90 degrees. The range speaks of x, but we are working with the 2x. Please observe those finer details. Examiners can be very sneaky sometimes. So you need to be just careful when you are reading your question and make sure that you have a very clear understanding of the question. So our range is actually the one that we want is actually 45 times 2 up to 90 times 2, which means we need 90 up to 180 degrees. That is the range that we need to answer this question. So 90 up to 180, it means our angle is going to fall into the second quadrant. In the second quadrant, we draw a triangle and we label the triangle according to trigonometric ratios, and then we calculate the third side using the theorem of Pythagoras. Then from there, our question can now be answered. We want to find the value of cos x. We cannot read the value of cos x from a diagram that has been drawn using 2x. Please take note of that. That is actually the main reason why I particularly picked up this example. We cannot get the values of cos x from a diagram that has been drawn with using angle 2x. To connect the two, we need double angle identities. Cos 2a is equal to 2 times cos squared x minus 1. Then from the diagram, we do have the value of cos 2x. Cos is adjacent of hypotenuse, that's minus 7 over 8. We can substitute cos 2x and with the minus 7 over 8, and then make cos x the subject of the formula. That will give us the answer to that question. So here, 2 cos squared x is equal to minus 7 over 8 plus 1. And then we simplify further until we get the value of cos x. This is a diagram type question where the angle is not given. You need two particular conditions that will determine where the triangle must be. Please don't draw a triangle at random. Just make sure that it satisfies the two conditions, and then you've got your full marks for this question. The next type of diagram that I would like you to quickly revise is one in which the angle is given. Remember, in the previous one, the angle was not given, and therefore we needed two conditions that pinpoint or that indicate to us in which quadrant to draw the triangle. Now, in this particular question, the angle is given. This one, it means Father Christmas was around the corner. It's nice and cute. So we have 29 degrees, and we know immediately that 29 degrees is in the first quadrant. So we're going to draw a triangle in the first quadrant and put 29 degrees. Then the other, we know that angles in the triangle, they add up to 180. After putting the 29 degrees, we can calculate the value of the third side using the idea that angles in a triangle, they add up to 180. Then label the triangle according to trigonometric ratios of right angles, and then calculate the third side using the theorem of Pythagoras. Once you are done, you can now answer the question. With this type of questions, please notice something very cute here. The angles that are given, sometimes they give you angles that are not in the triangle. So they can say to me, please find the value of sine 209. Yet when I look at 209, I can see that in my diagram, there is no 209. There is, however, the 29, the 61. So the question will be, how is the 209 connected to 29 degrees? How are the two related to each other? And that brings me to my reduction formulas, to my cofunctions, to my double angles, to my compound angles. You will never be asked to calculate something outside that. The sine of 200 degrees is equal to the sine of 180 plus 29, and then from there I can go ahead and reduce it to negative sine 29 degrees. Sine 29 is equal to m, therefore the answer to this question is negative m. That is my answer. Number 2, I need to find the value of cos 61. That one will be straightforward. The cos is adjacent of hypotenuse. The adjacent is m, the hypotenuse is 1, so the cos of 61 is equal to m. The cos of 29 degrees, I've got 29 degrees in my triangle, adjacent of hypotenuse, so that one is direct substitution, the square root of 1 minus m squared. Then look at the last one that I need to calculate, the value of this last one here. This is the sine of 58 degrees. But if you look at my triangle, I have 29 degrees and 61 degrees. There is no 58. So I have to ask myself, what is the relationship between 58 and 29? 58 and 61, one of them. And we can see that 58 is equal to 29 times 2. That means I need a double angle identity. If I did not write it down, but you can write it. Sine 58 is equal to sine 2 times 29. Then sine 2 times 29 is 2 times sine 29 times cos 29. Then we can substitute with numbers that come from the triangle and finalize our answer. This is also a diagram type question. So generally speaking, in this kind of question, expect them to ask you to calculate the value of 180 plus theta, that will need reduction formulas, 2 theta, that will need double angles, or theta minus beta, that will need compound angles, where theta and beta are one of the two angles that are in the diagram. Just like we have the sine of 209, that would be 180 plus theta, 180 plus 29. Just like we have the sine of 58, that is 2 theta, 2 times 29. Then you can use your formulas to simplify it. That's diagram type questions. So to just highlight to you, this one here is from November 2023. Many websites, so I try to find different examples that you can use. And remember, we don't want you to memorize the past examination paper and thank Jesus for it, thinking that in the exams you are going to nail it. It doesn't work like that. If you strictly study question papers, then what happens if the examiners that year decide to structure the question in a different way? Then it's going to be a little bit problematic for you. So it's important for you to learn the content. The policy stipulates content. You must learn the ideas that are in the topic trigonometry. Once you do that, it becomes easier in everything else. But just to show you how the questions may be, this one is from November 2023. I can see that the value of sine A is equal to a positive number here. That's 1/3 is a positive one. And I can see that my angle is starting from negative, from 90 up to 270. So these two items are going to give me the quadrant in which I can draw the triangle. The quadrant in which sine is positive and the quadrant between 90 and 270 degrees. Then from there, I can be able to answer my question. And being able to observe things like this one. This is a 2b, but the information is talking about b. The question is asking about 2b, which means I need to link them using double angle identities. Then the last one, any angle that is more than 90 degrees is telling you something. You need to reduce it using reduction formulas. Once you reduce it, you'll be able to see what you need to do. Then we have another one which came from November 2022 examination paper 2. Similar questions. So the questions are basically not very different from each other. What is important for us is to make sure we have an understanding of how to answer them. I organized here 2021, 2022, 2023 past examination papers looking at the specific type of question I'm talking about, the diagram and the basic calculations. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I end here for now. Please remember to support us by liking and sharing and commenting so that we can keep on giving you information that you may need for your learning to take place. Blessings to all of you. See you in the next video.